Welcome students. So this video is for class 8 social science. So today we'll start with the second chapter from your history portion, that is establishment of company power. So in this chapter we're going to study about how different countries they settled down their companies and started their rule in India, right? Yes, but ultimately India was been ruled by British East India Company for a longer period, right? So in your chapter, you can see the first paragraph is about the mercantilism and the trade wars. So here the word mercantilism is related with the trade and commerce. It is a concept of reducing import and increasing export, right? And at that time, yes, European was the one who had got the good knowledge about the trade and commerce, right? So European, they used to do the trading through the land. Okay, they used to travel from one place to another and they used to do the trading, isn't it? That is export and import of the items, right? So but later on, what happened? The Ottoman Empire, when they gained the power in Constantinople and Asian Minors, they totally banned to do the trading through the lands, right? So now European, they found a new idea. They got the new idea to do the trading through the sea routes, as it was the easiest and the cheapest means of transport, right? And plus they didn't find any obstacle on the way also, right? So now what happened? Now East India Company, they started to do the tradings with the Eastern companies, right? And our India at that time was totally isolated. They didn't have any idea, they didn't have much idea about the trading and all, right? So until and unless when Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese person, he landed in India in 1498, and that incident led the establishment of trading in India, right? So now let's talk more about the British and all. Okay, so yeah, before British, there were the other Europeans also. They came to India, like your Portuguese, Dutch, the people from Holland, they also came to India. And after British, yes, French also came to India, right? So British at that time was a private company. British East India Company was a private company in England, okay, and they wanted to do the trading with the Eastern countries. So they got the charter from the Queen, and according to that charter, they were allowed to do the trading with the Eastern countries for 15 years, right? So they got the permission from the Jahangir also, who was the ruler in India at that time, right? And they established trading post in Surat, and later on they set up their post in Bombay also, okay, when King Charles got married with the Portuguese princess Catherine de Braganza, okay, and that land, the Bombay, was given to him as a form of a dowry, right? So in other hand, French East India Company also, they established in India in 1664. Okay, they established their trading post in India in the part of Pondicherry, Chandinagar, and Mahe and all. Okay, then what happened? Under the leadership of Dupleix, okay, Dupleix wanted to establish French Empire in India. Okay, got it. His ambition was to establish French power in India. Okay, and same was wondering, okay, and same British also wanted to do in the other hand, okay, right? So which led to the war, okay, conflict between the East India Company, between French and British, okay, and that led the war of Anglo-French War, okay. And this war lasted for a long period, that's for 20 years, okay, and this war was also known as a Carnatic War, as this war took place in the part of Carnatic in South India, right? So we're going to study about the we're going to know about the First Anglo-Carnatic War. Was started in 1744 and it lasted for 4 years, right? So this war started when British started approaching in the Coromandel Coast region, and due to which the French got threatened, and in return French attacked the part of Madras, okay, which was the trading post of British at that time. So they attacked, and what happened? This led the First Carnatic War, right? So this war lasted for 4 years, as I told, and it ended with the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle in 1748, right? So that lays the end of the First Carnatic War, okay. And just after the end of First Carnatic War, the Second Anglo-Carnatic War was started, when indirectly or directly, both British and French was involved. Okay, this what happens in Nizam of Hyderabad. After the death of Nizam of Hyderabad, there was a conflict aroused between his successors, that is Nasir Jung and Muzaffar Jung, right? So both they were wanted to get the power in Hyderabad, right? So Nasir Jung was being supported by British, and your Muzaffar Jung was being supported by French. And in other hand, in Carnatic also, Chand Sahib and Muhammad Ali, they were struggling for the power in Carnatic. Okay, and whereas Chand Sahib was being supported by French, and your Muhammad Ali was being supported by British, right? So what happened with the support of French? Chand Sahib, he succeeded to be the Nawab, okay, of Carnatic, and your Nasir Jung also, Nasir Jung also, he also succeeded to become a Nawab of Hyderabad, right? But later on, what happened? Unfortunately, Dupleix, a very benevolent leader of French, he had to return back to France. Okay, got it? So getting the advantage, Robert Clive, he attacked Carnatic, and he executed Chand Sahib from the place and replaced him by Muhammad Ali. So this led the end of the Second Carnatic War, right? So now next or the last Carnatic War it started in 1756. And this war was the outbreak of the 7 years of war in Europe. And what happens here, the France was also slowly they were losing the power in India, okay, where British were, they slowly gradually they were getting the power, right? So France also they lost the Battle of Vandivas in 1760, and they also lost the power in Pondicherry. Yeah, but later on they gained the power again in Pondicherry with help of the Treaty of Paris in 1763. But they were not allowed to make or build any fort or factories in Pondicherry, right? So that leads to the end of the Carnatic War. Okay, so these all three wars shows the superiority of the British rule and the inferiority of the French rule. Okay, got it? And this, yes, obviously this war also laid the foundation of the British rule in India for a long period, right? So now we're going to discuss about the British acquisitions of new territories in India, right? Now gradually British started to establish their territories in a different part of India, isn't it? They were clear about that there was no any unity among the rulers of Indians, isn't it? So plus their empire was slowly disintegrating also, right? So they wanted to establish a power in Bengal. Why? Because at that time Bengal was the richest province in India. Okay, so they wanted to capture Bengal. Okay, right? So they first of all they built a fort. The name of the fort was Fort William. Okay, and they also got a free farman from Farrukhsiyar or a Dastak. So slowly they started to misuse the farman. Okay, and which was not liked by Alivardi Khan. Okay, for some extent he checked the British rule, and later on his grandson Siraj-ud-Daulah, okay, he also checked British rule. Okay, got it? And also ordered them, not only British but even French, to build or fortifying the trading post, right? French, they stopped building the forts, okay, but British, they didn't. Okay, they continue building the forts, and later on under the leadership of Robert Clive, they also captured Calcutta, right? But yeah, later on Siraj-ud-Daulah, he made to recaptured Calcutta again. Okay, right? So now British was clear that Siraj-ud-Daulah would never laid for the foundation of British rule in Calcutta, in Bengal. Okay, so they wanted to remove Siraj-ud-Daulah permanently, right? So they started a conspiracy against Siraj-ud-Daulah with the help of Mir Jafar, who was the general of Siraj-ud-Daulah's army, right? So plus British also offered him the throne of Bengal after defeating Siraj-ud-Daulah, right? So Mir Jafar, he pretended to be loyal towards Siraj-ud-Daulah, right? So now what happened? a battle was started between British and Siraj-ud-Daulah, and the name of the battle was Battle of Plassey in 1757, right? So in this battle, what happened? Siraj-ud-Daulah was been totally defeated. He was been killed, and Mir Jafar was been ascended as a throne. Okay, sorry, ascended in the throne, but he was the puppet of on the hand of British, right? So he has to pay a huge compensation, war compensation to the British. He also had to give a trading rights to the British. Okay, got it. And he also has to organize the army for the British, right? So later on, his son-in-law Mir Qasim didn't like it. Okay, he ascended the throne and he restarted to reorganize the army and all. Okay, he also stopped or removed the dasta from the internal trades and all, which benefit Indian traders a lot. Okay. And this all action of Mir Qasim was not liked by British ruler. Okay, and they again removed Mir Qasim from the throne and reappointed Mir Jafar again. Okay, right it. Now this led us battle of Buxar. Okay, so Mir Qasim was been removed by British. He was very, very angry and he joined the hand with the Nawab of Oudh. His name was Shuja-ud-Daulah. Then Mughal Empire Adam Shah II also supported him, right? So with the support of two people, okay, Mir Qasim started a battle against the British. Okay, and the name of the battle was Battle of Buxar in 1764, right? So in this battle, the three people or three rulers, okay, they were totally defeated by the British, and finally Mir Qasim has to flee away from the battle, and Shuja-ud-Daulah, he has to hide himself in Rohilkhand, and Shah Alam II, he joined the hand with British, and plus he offered Diwani right, that is revenue to collect the taxes from Bihar, Bengal and Odisha. That all thing was been offered to British, right? So now these two battles, that is Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, was very, very important, is very, very important in the Indian history, because this showed the inferiority of the Indian ruler and the superiority of the British ruler, right? So we'll continue in the next video.